Obi's like, so just so you remember, I enter stage left. You know, I hit my spot, I hit my mark, and then I start revealing my asshole to the camera.
Welcome to the cyber world in the brilliant year of 2000 when we had Pogs and Limp Bizkit, Dylan and Eric. We just got back from
we didn't have
Y2K.
Dylan and Eric in 2000. They died in 1999.
Remember Dylan?
I know American history.
Remember Pogs? Remember Pogs? We saw Y2K. Connor, what is the plot of Y2K?
Y2K is a film. And so there's these two buddies, right? And they want to use their boners and have sex for the first time. And the first half hour is just super bad again. Because the movie's produced by Jonah Hill and some guy who I think produced Superbad. And they're like, what if we just made everyone think it was Superbad, but then the computers come to life on Y2K? But the whole plot is kind of ruined by the fact that there's a trailer that was spread. The fucking trailer just showed what happened. But anyways, so it's Superbad for the first half hour. And then evil computers with like Tamagotchis and Pogs and Nintendo Power Gloves and whatever else come to life, and then they have to fight the computers, and they meet Fred Durst, and everyone in the movie is an amateur rapper, which ties into the fact that they had rockabilly rapper Fred Durst as a major character in the movie, and then they used the condom that I haven't mentioned, but of course there's a condom MacGuffin in the movie. But anyways, whatever. And with that, a new attempt at creating 2000s nostalgia was created, and based on the huge audience turnout at our Thursday at 7 o'clock showing of this movie, perhaps the dawn of 2000s nostalgia is here.
Yeah, I think we're the only two people in that theater who would even remember the 90s.
I barely do. I wouldn't remember the 90s. I was born in 1998.
Yeah, I think
I moderately remember flashes from like 2000 and 2001.
I think a lot of the people in our theater weren't even alive for 9/11.
Oh, no. There's a bunch of people trying to get a Thursday blowy from their girlfriends, you know? It's a blowjob movie through and through.
Yeah.
And this movie falls into the category of it's a fake out. It starts as an early 2000s comedy, and they're like, remember when theaters showed comedy movies? And then it turns to a shitty horror movie, and they're like, that's more like it. It's a gimmick horror movie.
It'd be a nicer fake out if the trailers weren't just scenes of the robots killing people.
This feels more like a Blumhouse film than something that would put... Like when Blumhouse balls out on one of their two non-$40 movies a year.
Hey, this couldn't be a Blumhouse movie because it wasn't PG-13. It had some amount of blood and titties twice.
Computer titties.
Yeah, computer titties.
Stars nowadays, I think people are too scared to make the stars show their titties.
Yeah, they're gonna get accused.
Unless it's art house. But A24 didn't want to chance it. They didn't want to tell the lady who's about to play Snow White to bear all the same less than a year before. So Aiden, what did you think of Y2K?
Yeah. It's a movie.
Damn right.
It's like 80 minutes long. 30 minutes is burned on the setup of being super bad but not funny. And then the next 50 minutes is mostly people wandering around the woods. And sometimes you get to see like a cool practical effects animatronic robot made of computer parts. And those guys are kind of charming, the big robots. I mean, they just look like a guy in a suit with a bunch of computer shit taped on him. But it's kind of charming to see, and there's a couple fun practical effects. The first kill scene where they're at the house party and people are getting chopped up and shot is a little more creative and exciting. And for a moment there, I was like, oh, maybe this won't be so bad. Lots of like practical effects and weird robot arms and funny gag kills, like the guy falling into the microwave. And it starts off fairly strong, and then it's got like the 80s micro budget walk around in the woods for a while stuff. And then the last 30 minutes when they hatch their plan to hack the mainframe at the school is basically Nathan Fielder's fake hacker movie from the Nathan For You episode where he gets people to buy a bunch of merchandise at the gift shop. And it's just like Snow White taps on a keyboard and says, "I'm hacking the mainframe," and they plug a USB in, and there's like dramatic stuff flashing all over the screen to make it exciting, like like binary code and like pictures of I don't know, computer screens and like I don't know, computer stuff, bicycles, pogs. And the movie has to stop itself to make jokes all the time about how the 2000s were the 2000s, or the 1999s, late 1999, where they're like, wouldn't it be weird if Enron was a giant scam? Or
Yeah,
like, do you remember
like,
Pogs?
I feel like 1997 to like 2002 is what they're parodying here.
Yeah. They'll be like, remember Fred Durst? And then Fred Durst is there. And then they'll be like, remember skateboarding?
You
remember
know what
the
annoyed
Simpsons?
me? Most of the cars, like, they just had a bunch of, like, 80s cars. The few cars you see in this movie.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like, you got, like, 80s and 90s beaters, some early 2000s.
Yeah, but nobody's rolling around in a nice car from the 90s or anything, or even, like, a mid-range
No, but that's
car.
not what I was going to complain about. But at one point, they pulled up to the school, and there's a work truck from it, and it was like a Toyota Tacoma from, like, 2017.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn, my immersion is ruined.
It's
From
okay,
this
man.
movie.
Then,
From there, I just couldn't get one back after like the third shot of the movie.
But
when
what
I saw
about the scene
Toyota
where-
Tacoma from 2017?
but what about the scene where the fat guy and the main character guy show off their Pog collections, and they're like, I got the
Was I on my
I got the
phone or, like,
Rugrats
shitting
Pog
or
collection.
something?
No, they didn't actually pull out
Oh.
Pogs.
I mean, that sounds right. honestly.
It's basically what the movie is. The problem is, it's not really funny. There's a few funny characters, and all the funny characters die, like the weird stoner VHS store man, and they give him a big dramatic kill, and it's pretty fun. And then like they wander around in the woods again.
Yeah, his fat friend was hit or miss.
Yeah.
For jokes, but like I was kind of surprised they killed him off after like 30 minutes because it's like I know that's supposed to be like a shocking twist, but you were left with a pond deep, like a kiddie pool deep well of characters.
Yeah,
you had role that was written for Michael Cera, but now he's 20 years too old to do it.
Yeah, you got the boring Michael Cera main character. You got
hot girl,
generic hot girl love interest. You got the edgy rap girl who's just like our neighbor from when we were kids.
Oh, yeah.
Where she's just like an edgy Fred Durst lesbian and says fuck all the time. And then there's like a wannabe deep rapper who says shitty rap lines and then gets killed by a CD. And Fred Durst is a central character too. Because he agreed to be in this movie and license like 5 songs.
Yeah.
From Limp Bizkit. There are very fleeting moments where it works. The house party is fun, and if that was the climax, and there had been other stuff before that, it would have been pretty cool. The practical effects can be charming, and there's very fleeting moments where it's actually funny. The drug guy going out with trying to hit a robot with his little twirl batons, his stoner batons, and there's times where the movie almost works, and then it just goes back to being
I think
2000s nostalgia pandering.
The weird thing is, like, I feel like the script was in a drawer from, like, 2008. Like, this was going to be the big follow-up to Superbad. Because you got main character nerd guy, that's Michael Cera. Fat kid, obviously Jonah Hill. Yep. Stoner, Dana Carvey.
Dana Carvey. He looks kind of like Dana Carvey. But that would definitely
be He was
Seth
also
Rogen.
Doing, like, face comedy, where the whole comedy is just him making weird faces.
Yeah, but they could just...
That would have been Seth Rogen in, like, 2012. The problem is, by then, like, they had it down to a science. Well, yeah.
Seth
Rogen,
I
guess he was pretty much cop guy from Superbad.
Pretty much. I mean, he's, like, more stoner, but... And then, like, James Franco would have been in there somewhere as, like, maybe the girlfriend's ex-boyfriend or something.
Oh, yeah. He should have still been in there. She's 17 or something. That's like his...
That's his jam.
That's his ideal. It would make the audience laugh because they'd be like, oh, James. And she'd be like, he's a little old for me, but he's teaching me how to act.
Yeah,
and then the whole audience laughs, you know?
James Franco's less handsome younger brother might have been there as like some character.
You know what Dave Franco looks like? He looks like Voodoo Magic created a shrunken James Franco, but after they shrunk the head, they expanded it to be really big again. They were using the like size adjust tool and like
it's like when you put something
instead of like
you put something in,
you forget to put like the locked aspect ratio,
and
he goes
like make it shorter.
Yeah. It's a little weird.
Yeah, it's not very good. There's a couple moments that almost work. It just it doesn't come together in any satisfying way.
No, it does not.
Connor, what'd you think of Y2K?
Y2K is trying to create 80s nostalgia, which for the 2000s, like it's the same thing. And I guess like
it's like Kung Fu.
It's kind of weird because I kind of remember this era sort of, but obviously I wasn't like a high schooler, so I didn't see a lot of this shit. But I remember to an extent. And I think the weird thing about it is like seeing it unfold in front of me as a bunch of like children are sitting there clapping and being like, this is what the early 2000s is like. And it makes me feel really fucking old. Because I was watching like 80s movies as a kid and you're like, oh, okay. Like I get it. This isn't really the 80s. But we're making fun of it. So that's weird. But then I also, one thing that started to get annoying with the 80s movies that they just hopped right into here is you have to hit all the beats, like
yeah,
and very specifically the beats of the director here. There was some stuff that was.
Tell someone on the writing staff and directing staff was a big fan of Limp Bizkit 20 years ago.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, there was like Limp Bizkit. There was all like they're making like Chubba Wubba Lubba Dub or whatever the fuck that song is called. They're trying to make that into like the fucking 2000s Take on Me or something.
They're playing Mortal Kombat 4 and Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, they're just like it's a lot of weird like reference. I don't know. It's odd. It's definitely odd to me. But that's just more of an anecdote. I do think like the idea of like setting something in an era and then doing weird shit with it is kind of odd. And then like whenever they're using the computers, like I think the director, who's assuredly 20 years older than me, just forgot that in 2000 on dial-up you couldn't be like fucking ripping CDs while you have 5 internet windows open, messaging 20 people while running videos that instantly load. Like there was like some buffering, but like you would just pause and sit on that shit. On dial-up to like watch that Bill Clinton video they showed at the start, you'd be sitting there for like 5 minutes.
5 minutes, generously.
Yeah, generously. I mean, I know it's a film, so they can't be like... But a lot of it just feels like... I don't know, I guess they wanted to do a 2000s nostalgia, but I feel like, honestly, this movie would make just as much sense now. Except you do, like, Evil Siri. But I think they wanted to throw in things that are, like, 20...
Evil Siri movie this year.
Yeah, I know. That's what they wanted to make, because they're, like, the evil AI... they took over the dial-up or something somehow, and like the toasters and shit, which is fine. It makes no sense, but
Yeah,
I don't
somehow
know.
it's possessing things that don't have computer chips.
I just feel like it would have made more sense if like. Yeah, I mean, also Y2K people were scared of things connected to network, like the Tamagotchi becomes evil and shit. Like,
Well,
did
the
it plug
microwave
itself
and the
in?
fucking drill.
The CD player is able to launch. Like, it's ridiculous. And the weird thing is, the movie at times wants to be taken seriously as a drama. The pseudo Michael Cera character is sad and really loves this girl and blah blah blah. The really generic every coming of age movie thing.
Yep.
Which is fine in like a comedy or something. But then also they're like at times like grappling with the deaths of their friends and people are like depressed about it, and then in the next scene it's like Fred Durst just shows up or somebody gets hit in the head with CDs and everyone's like he's dying and they're like crying and miserable, and then he starts rapping and it's like that movie kind of like the first half hour they're like we're gonna emulate Superbad, like even down to like a joke timing standpoint where there's a joke like every 45 seconds or whatever. There's like light exposition to move you through the plot, like most of those like 2000s it's more of an emulation of like late 2000s and 2010s comedies, so I don't really know why they wanted to reference or rip off or whatever the fuck they were doing. But then when that ends, they just like most of the time forget it's a comedy, and then sometimes it is. I don't know. And then there's like some sort of message about like being yourself that's really hokey. And then it's like, what can we shove in? Like, what if they like made their action figures that 70s show and whatever? And it's like, I don't know. Also, just like Fred Durst showing up, and then they have to be like, Fred Durst, I thought you would have been
25 years younger.
25 years younger. And he's like, yeah, well,
Yeah, and
fuck
then
it,
Fred
I guess.
Durst is like, remember the Dreamcast? Remember.
Remember when I signed a bunch of Dreamcasts on the wrapper, so if you actually wanted to play your Dreamcast, you just ruined my autograph, or you had a autographed piece of plastic.
Had to go out and buy a second Dreamcast so you could play it.
Yeah. One to look at, one to play, I guess. How disappointed would you be if you just didn't notice and you just opened the Fred Durst
I like how I went through like half of them and signed them on the plastic.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, usually with like sports guys, I'm not sure if like Sega knew what they were doing, but usually with like sports cards and shit, they got a team of like 10 people, so they literally just don't have to do anything but sign. And then when their arms get tired, there's like a guy behind them like fake signing while they are like touching the pen. Like I saw one with like the dude who used to be married to Jennifer Lopez from Shark Tank, Alex Rodriguez or something.
Yeah.
And it's just him sitting there, and he's like, and it's just a video of him like signing it, and there's like one person that moves it there, and then he signs it, and the other person slides it into like over to the next guy who puts it in a case, like one of the sleeves, and then sends it off to wherever the fuck, Topps headquarters or whatever, presumably for those trading cards.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's like a fluffer under the desk jerking them off like in porn. But Sega was probably just like, here's a fucking pallet of Sega Dreamcasts, Fred Durst, and they walked off. Like, he's probably like, fuck it, dude.
I mean, Sega America was crazy incompetent. So.
Sega's paying me like $2,300 actually, no, they probably paid him some ridiculous sum of money, but he had shit going on. He couldn't spend the day unpackaging and signing each Dreamcast in the middle of some Sega warehouse when they're like, we'll be back in like an hour, because they felt too awkward to just stand there and watch Fred Durst do it. Like, my point is, there should be an operation. Why are we talking about this?
Because Fred Durst
is in the movie. I was thinking that the lesbian lady just wore a backwards red hat because she's a lesbian. But I was like, maybe it's like a Fred Durst reference too, and then Fred Durst showed up, and I was like, oh. But then I remembered, like a month and a half ago, I saw an article on like comic book resources or something, because despite me blocking them on Facebook like 10 times, I think they got like dummy accounts to send me like Fred Durst clickbait. But I do remember that he like produced this movie. I thought he directed it originally was the flub. Because CBR writes their articles so incompetently that it wrote like the guy.
If he actually directed it, probably would have been funnier because it would have been like fucking weird Fred Durst shit.
Well, I think my point is like the tone's kind of weird. The movie feels like it's 4 hours long because it shifts like it has like dramatic tonal shifts repeatedly. The computer villains are like a nice idea and they look nice, but like I don't know. What's the real goal? What's the goal? What is it supposed to be? It just kind of felt random. And also there were like shock value points, like when Jonah Hill's character gets killed after like 20 minutes, which I think was like stupid as fuck. Because like he's one of the two characters you spent the first half hour
He's the only
setting up.
He's
like,
the only character that the main character has an interesting dynamic with. Because he's not friends with anyone else. He's like this weird loner dork, and he doesn't talk to any of the other characters until the last like 10 minutes. The only character he had like any rapport with was the one who dies immediately.
Right, and it was the Michael Cera Jonah Hill rapport where you had like he's fat but confident, so he makes out with hot chicks all the time, and then there's nerdy Jonah Hill who doesn't know how to, or a Michael Cera character who doesn't know how to talk to women and is nerdy. And that's fine, like, reuse the archetypes, but, like...
You can't just
this movie would have been so
pairing.
much better in 2007 if you're like, oh, Michael Cera and Jonah Hill are doing their thing again after Superbad. And then Jonah Hill dies, and you're like, oh, you know, that's kind of a different vibe, and it'd be funnier, but it's just some fucking guy I've never seen before who's in the first 30 minutes of this movie is designed to set him and his buddy up, and then... you just, like, get rid of the comedic sidekick. Or kill him in, like, the 11th hour. Like, that's what they did in Shaun of the Dead. But, like, the fact that you kill the buddy for shock value after 30 minutes and then you just have to, like, add random rapper guy who was in the movie for one line before this for the first half hour and... the lesbian lady who you thought was a background extra to the other character they unceremoniously killed off 2 seconds after the best friend, the bully guy. I think it would have been more poignant if you actually just add characters. Because they even bothered to establish the Chad or whatever, the stoner guy. And like, okay, the love interest's going to be more established as the movie goes on because she's the love interest character.
Hey, buddy.
As they did with like Emma Stone and Superbad. But this feels like something that the producer of this movie is like, I really want to make this. This is hilarious. And then it ended up in a drawer for like 20 years until A24 offered to make it. And then they were kind of just forced to try to find like copycats of each person.
This would be like if A24 produced Butch Nitro, which was just a collection of things we liked at the time, like fucking Shark Tank.
Oh yeah, Butch Nitro was for sure. Yeah, no, it felt like what it kind of felt like the, you know, going back to when I was talking about Shaun of the Dead, it's kind of like it's kind of the Shaun of the Dead to like Superbad's Hot Fuzz, but you no longer have the original actors. And that's why I think they just got Jonah Hill to produce. Because I guarantee you this movie was spec scripted in like 2009 with Jonah Hill attached. And if not, then someone just wrote a rip-off movie.
A Superbad fan fiction.
Yeah. Pretty much.
They're not funny.
I don't know. Like, occasionally, I didn't really hate fake Michael Cera. The girlfriend was undercooked. The lesbian lady and the white bucket hat rapper were there. They didn't really have much going on. The funniest two people were the friend they killed for shock value and the bully guy that they killed because shock value. And in fairness, his death was kind of goofy. But, like, why would you kill off the two funny characters, and then leave the straight man.
Well, they have
And
the third funny
the love
character,
interest,
the
these whole
stoner.
characters that she relates to the nerdy guy despite being hot.
And then the stoner guy, the third funny character,
Yeah,
the stoner guy.
The
is in
third
for
funny character, like, I was fine with him dying when he did, but you might as well just let him live because you need someone to add levity.
Obi, please, Obi, I can't help you.
What are you doing trying to do?
He's just not very smart.
I just feel like killing off every character who
And leaving the most boring
made
four.
people laugh. And I know you kind of had Fred Durst, who I thought it was kind of goofy how weird and self-aware Fred Durst was in the film, but like
There was some fun moments with Fred Durst as the comedic
it was
character.
more of like a
when,
fun concept than
when he
an
gets
actual,
on stage
like,
and everyone starts booing him, but there's a lot of times where like Fred Durst is just kind of there.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So Aiden, would you recommend Y2K?
No. No. Connor, would you recommend Y2K?
No. It doesn't really work as like a horror movie or a buddy comedy or a comedy, and it never picks what it wants to be, and despite only being 90 minutes long, it felt like it was 3 hours. But it wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen.
Oh, it was far from the worst of the year.
Oh no. I wouldn't put it, it's probably not even in the top 10 worst, frankly. It's just like mediocre is the best way to describe it.
No, yeah, the top 10 worst of this year is going to be ridiculous. We got to start getting
This is a
the
stacked year for bullshit because I think
Strangers
I think like
Chapter 1.
certain years this would have been like bottom of the barrel. But this year by comparison,
Yeah, Strangers
I
Chapter 1.
I think this movie's better than it is because the things we have seen that are bad this year are fucking abysmal.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of trash.
It's
this year.
unparalleled how much abysmal bullshit has come out this year, which is why, like, something like this, which I would probably call the biggest dumpster fire in a while, 3 years ago, whenever the fuck there was a lot of good movies, which has been a while, but, like...
It's not even a blip on the radar this year. Compared to
Yeah.
fucking Madam Web and Strangers Chapter 1 and
Madam
Craven.
Web feels like 100 years
Craven's
ago.
not out yet, but
It feels like
I have a
over
good
1,000 years ago they made the Madam Web movie. Like, that feels like it came out an eon ago.
we're getting Craven in a few weeks.
It feels like the universe was came into existence, and on Earth was a Sony Pictures surplus of Madam Web Blu-rays and nothing else. And then, you know, after millions of years, you know, the cells, you know, life was created. The first fish swam out of water, you know. A few generations later, it's a tadpole, you know. It's one of those weird fish that can walk out the water. All of a sudden, it's a monkey jerking off into its own mouth and drinking its
We've
own
seen
pee.
so much vile trash this year.
Vile. It's a vile year.
Red 1, 430, Venom 3, Terrifier 3, Joker 2, Megalopolis, The Crow.
The thing is, there's still lots to see. We'll see. Right now, it's holding the worst spot of the month as the first movie, but with Sonic 3 and Craven coming out, I think
Sonic 3 will probably be fine.
the
One and
first
were
two
fine.
Sonics were fine, but like a third Sonic, third time just seems
This
too
time
much.
they can rip off Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, that
Madam
seems
Web.
risky, you know.
Madam Web, Argyle, Beekeeper,
Yeah. Honestly, I
Rebel
think
Moon Part 2.
whatever we said about Rebel Moon Part 2 and The Beekeeper, I feel like those movies deserve an apology because they were awful. I do remember The Beekeeper where he's like, Grandma's getting axed. He starts killing a bunch of Indian dudes.
Well,
and,
Grandma
like,
kills
Cuban
herself
links.
because she gets hacked.
Yeah, so he starts
crazy.
killing Indian people that have Cuban links or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they were hacking. So, okay, that one's pretty dumb.
We spent so much trash this year.
This is our advertisement for our end of the year list, which will come out
a thing.
after whatever our last movie is. But we have a lot to cover this month because we got this movie, check, but Craven, Sonic, Lord of the Rings, then Nosferatu on Christmas. Is that the 5? There might be one more.
So. Nosferatu.
There's at least 5 this year, this month, because there's one every month we want, or every week we want to see, and then Lord of the Rings and Craven come out next week, and it wasn't a hard decision between the surely okay but boring Lord of the Rings anime and Craven the fucking Hunter.
Another half-star movie.
I thought Craven wasn't happening. I remember taking a shit in like 2016 and they announced Craven and I was like, that's never happening. And then they're like, I saw the first trailer when I was working at Coon Rapids AMC in 2019. Or wait, was that a trailer or was that like the teaser? No, I think it was like they were releasing like some feelers. And then I think they're like, we're on our 19th director, like, we're going to make Craven work.
Craven's coming.
Craven's like, Aben Pascal is sitting on her iPad. They're like, Craven's budget has surpassed $500 million, Amy. And she's like, I don't give a fuck. This is going to turn it around.
This is going to be the one to save the Sony Spider-Verse.
Because I'm pretty sure it was like, Venom was a hit, so they just started like throwing out names, you know?
And Spider-Verse 3
like, they
got
did
delayed.
it. They really
get a good Sony movie this year.
I mean, Venom was the perfect storm. People recognize Venom from, like, shampoo bottles, you know? You got the Spider-Man shampoo and the Venom conditioner, and it was, like, 2018. I think they shot it out. It was Ant-Man 2 and Captain Marvel came out after Infinity War and before Endgame, but one more slipped out before that too, and that was Venom. They just threw a Marvel logo on it, said nothing. They weren't trying to do multiverse. It was a mockbuster through and through, but they were legally entitled to use the Marvel, like in the tiniest letters ever. They wrote in association with Marvel right on the front.
It snuck through on the goodwill of Infinity War.
They were doing like subliminal messages
and
where they like wrote
everyone
Thanos.
Was like, okay, Marvel's over, and then Sony released 9 more of these movies.
Yeah. No, well the thing was, I think like that's why they're like, why can't we get a $1 billion hit like Venom? Like we've reinvested and lost all the money. It's like the problem is like no one's got Morbius shampoo, you know. But Venom is clearly evil looking dude in a Spider-Man costume. Which is appealing for a shampoo, conditioner, 2-pack for children.
Yeah.
And he's probably cheaper to print out on the shampoo head than like Green Goblin with the ears and the hat.
You can put him on the back of the Spider-Man head of lettuce.
Yeah.
Put him on the back next to the nutrition facts or something.
Or you got like Spider-Man orange carrots and then you got like symbiote treated black carrots or something like that. And it's like, this is on the food pyramid parents.
Or back when
and then you bite into the carrots and the water.
Back when they used to release those bottles of like
food coloring.
Those bottles of like artificial juice, like the Kool-Aid shit that had the character toppers.
They still have those, but I think it became like real juice now.
And it's like Venom on the character topper.
Venom also, Spider-Man did a Marvel movie, and then some people might have remembered that Venom was in Spider-Man 3, so they probably just assumed
that it was related.
Yeah, well they know that Spider-Man and Venom are a thing.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. And they got their Trojan horse by letting that Marvel pay to create Spider-Man movies for them, but they keep all the money. See, Marvel screwed over Universal, and Sony did it right back to Marvel, and it was genius.
Yeah, and now we're never gonna get Spider-Man 4 because Marvel realized their folly and that they should have just done what they did with the Hulk and never make another Spider-Man movie.
I can see. Well, no, they announced Spider-Man 4 is filming this summer.
Oh, finally! It's been like 5 fucking years.
Yeah, John Watts is out because he wants to make a more Skeleton Crew Star Wars.
And now
I think
Tom Holland's no longer a tiny little baby boy who can be the web-slinging Spider-Man.
I mean, he's gonna be the Spider-Man.
He's gonna be the Spider-Man, capital M and A and N.
Yeah.
And now they have to try to sell people on street-level Spider-Man since they just made Spider-Man Iron Man Jr. for 5 movies.
Yeah, but I think they'll
But
be
it'll
like,
last
it's been
like 5
4 years since I became a street-level Spider-Man. Then he'll do a triple backflip and land into an Iron Man suit and then fly into the multiverse or something like that.
Yeah.
And Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire will be there, and they're like, we brought friends. And then Nicolas Cage's Spider-Man will be there. And then they'll put, like, some chick, maybe Jenna Ortega will be Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, but we brought even more friends.
Chapel Roan, Sabrina Carpenter, other people, Charlie XCX, Brat, Spider Brat.
Christian Bale. What if Christian Bale played the Vulture?
That's just another
The
guy who's the Vulture.
George Clooney, Val, like a wheelchair-bound Val Kilmer is there. It's like Charlie's Vultures, you know, Val's Vultures, you know what I'm saying? Instead of Charlie's Angels. And Val Kilmer types in a speech box, and they're like, we don't know who it is because he's vocoded his voice, but it turns out he just has like super lung cancer, so he can't actually talk.
Oh, I can't wait for Spider-Man 4 because it's just gonna be, it'll just be Iron Man.
It'll be called like
Spider
the
Boy
Zendaya
again.
Chronicles.
Well, no, like,
I think Zendaya will
I
be
can't
in
wait
for like 2 minutes.
The
as a
post
favor.
credits is gonna be great, where it'll show like the Fantastic Four coming through a portal, and Spider-Man will be like, "Not again! Alternate universes again!" And then all the TVs will crackle, and it'll be like, "I'm your new Overlord, Doctor Doom," and he takes off the mask, and he goes, and then it cuts to black for the end of the post credits.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's probably 100% gonna just be him. He'll be like, I'm a street level hero, and it's on the schedule right now. It goes Spider-Man 4, and then the Avengers Doctor Doom comes out like 6 months later. So if I had to take a crack at what's gonna happen,
He's gonna lose to Doctor Doom and realize he's Tony Stark from an
well,
alternate
Fantastic
universe.
Four is gonna end, and they'll be like my ultimate rival, Victor Von Doom, and they'll both like go through the portal to
The main universe.
to the main universe, but they're gonna like keep Robert Downey Jr.'s involvement a surprise, and then people will be shocked when famous Fantastic Four villain gets introduced in the Fantastic Four movie that comes out 9 months before the Avengers, and 3 months later, they'll like come through the portal, and Spider-Man will be there, and then Spider-Man will be like, "Well, I can help you guys get back to the universe," or something like I did with the Peter Parkers or whatever. And they'll be like, okay.
Who's even going to be on the
try.
Avengers for the Doctor Doom movie? Everyone cool is dead. Or their
Yeah.
contract's expired.
No, I feel like there is kind of the problem of...
Like, it's going to be fucking Midsummer and...
Well, like, how many people want it to? So it's going to be Midsummer... It'll probably just be the Thunderbolts.
Girl Hawkeye.
The Thunderbolts minus the ones they kill.
Man, they're going to kill...
They're probably not going to
racist
put the
Captain
Russian
America.
guy in it. Maybe the Thunderbolts will happen, and then Doctor Doom will come through and like kill a couple
It's
of them
gonna be
off,
like-
since that movie will flop and they won't want to make a sequel.
It's going to be like Falcon and Midsummer.
Although I think the Avengers just means event
Girl
movie.
Arrow.
Like I think it'll be like the first like Avengers Endgame where like the
Spider-Man.
Guardians were in it. So you'll have like the Thunderbolts sticking around, and then
Miss
I
Marvel
doubt
can show up, Captain
I doubt
Marvel.
they're getting like Angelina Jolie back from the Eternals.
Yeah, I don't know why they would.
Deadpool will probably somehow make it in. Spider-Man. Yeah.
Captain Marvel. Everyone's
Captain
favorite.
Marvel and Miss Marvel. Fucking
Girl Arrow guy.
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi.
Remember at the end of Shang-Chi, the Hulk shows up and he's like, your contract makes you obligated to be in the next Avengers movie unless you're not popular.
I like how Shang-Chi came out in 2019 and he hasn't featured since, and he'll probably be a core member of the Avengers because they have no one else.
No, the movie was 2021, like January though, because it came
Feels
out during
like
COVID.
It's been fucking forever.
Because yeah, I mean, it's been 3 years and he hasn't showed up, and they haven't said a fucking thing about him. And then they were like tweeting about it. Some guy like tweeted at him and was like, where's your next Marvel project? And he's like, I don't fucking know, dude. Shut up. He's like, I cameoed, I was a fucking like I was like 5th build in Barbie, like fuck off. It's my life now. I had a chance.
Benedict Cumberbatch can show up as the leader of the Avengers because he's like the oldest person who's still on the roster.
I think like
Assuming
Eternals,
his contract hasn't run
I feel
out.
like Eternals, they're gonna kind of just like be gone with Shang-Chi, and the reason he'll probably show up in the Avengers or something maybe, and like get killed after doing
Hulk
nothing
will
or
probably
something.
be
But
there
like,
because Mark Ruffalo doesn't have anything better going on.
I'm sure Chris Evans will like time travel back in part 2. Like in part 1, he won't be in it, but then because remember he's old as fuck, but he has the time travel thing. And maybe Peggy will show up because like the multiverse or something. So maybe they'll have like Peggy with her Captain America shield, and she'll be like, "Who are you?"
If Captain America shows up, that'd be so fucking pathetic.
I mean, frankly, they're either gonna they'll be like, we don't want to ruin the perfect arc, so Captain America rolls out of a portal from another Earth, and he's like, I'm Captain America, and they're like, Steve, and he's like, from another Earth, pal. I don't know you. Don't talk to me. He's talking to Sam Wilson, you know, and it turns out like he's like gives vaguely racist overtones. He's like, it's okay, like if that's what they do over here. But I don't want any of that. And he like walks up, you know. He's just a dick.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo probably has nothing going on.
Daredevil's naturally gonna show up. He's got a season 4 coming out.
Jeremy Renner could show up, I guess.
No, well, maybe he could be like Professor Xavier. They'll be like, what happened to you, Hawkeye? And he'll be like beaten up. He'll be like, I got hit by a fucking snowplow.
They can get Doctor Strange's fat Asian sidekick.
Oh, Wong.
Yeah,
I like Wong though. That's
I like
fine.
Wong. He can show up.
How about,
I don't think I'd be very like. I don't think it'd be like when he
you
steps
could get
through
the
the
new
portal.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Like they don't. Like most of them decided to walk away, so they just made like a fully CGI. You could have Cosmo and Rocket and Groot.
Yeah,
and
Harry Styles.
Quasar and
Harry Styles,
yeah,
the guy with the weird eyebrows.
I feel like
covered in gold
Harry
paint.
Styles' contract probably stipulated like we'll give you a call within the next like 2 years.
Yeah,
and then when that didn't happen and no one saw it,
I would say Blade could show up, but Blade's canceled.
There's definitely some script readjustments they'll have to do. They're introducing Wonder Man. I feel like they're like hoofed. He's getting a show this year starring the guy who played Black Manta.
They can put Ironheart in.
Vision, maybe? I mean, I know
Ironheart.
Vision died, but didn't he came back to life white? White
but then
Vision.
he died again in Scarlet Witch. They could put Agatha.
No, that's not what happened. He was revived in a dream, but then he
got revives for real, and then he's like, Wanda, this is really bad, and then he punches her, and then he fades to dust, and she's like, damn, I'm sad.
But then there was a white version of him that flies off, remember?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Because he fights the white Vision, because it was...
I forgot about
even
that.
though the show is supposed to be like shitty like Marvel's take on David Lynch, they're like, okay, but they gotta shoot lasers the last 3 episodes straight then. And that's what they did.
Agatha could show up, you know? Agatha all along. The show I thought was never going to come out. Agatha can be
the show that people are like, this is the best Marvel show ever. Just like they say about every Marvel show except She-Hulk. And then
Samuel Jackson can show up in
I forgot the Secret Invasion happened. And then when I remembered it, I thought it was really funny because that's why the Marvels was so confusing for the first half hour. Because the 2 shows you have to watch for the first 2 were like, we tried to watch She-Hulk and we're like, fuck, or not She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, and we're like, fuck it. And then I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not gonna stay subscribed anymore, like a week before Secret Invasion came out.
I like
so
the retcon in Secret Invasion where they're like, Don Cheadle is in a wheelchair after Civil War, and some alien became Don Cheadle and just lived his life for like 15 years.
I do like how many times they like just half-assed shit, like out of like a lack of foresight.
Don Cheadle can show up in the Avengers. He can be the new Iron Man.
They're like, we're gonna tease like a Secret Invasion TV show in the new Spider-Man movie. Like, Secret Invasion was like kind of a big comic arc where like a bunch of heroes became, but then they're like, we'll make it a TV show and it's gonna be Game of Thrones lady as Super Skrull beating the shit out of 75-year-old Sam Jackson, and then
I'm pretty
Don
sure Sam
Cheadle will show up
Jackson's
for 10 minutes
in a wheelchair. Yeah. Now Sam Jackson, his contract's probably over now. He's probably out of there.
Yeah, probably. I mean, who knows? I'm sure he'll show up. He shows up in everything. If the price is right, like, I doubt he'll charge too much if he doesn't have to star, you know?
Yeah, he can just...
If he can show up for 10 minutes for $5 million so they can put his name on the poster, that's called the Sam Jackson transaction.
What they'll probably do so that they don't have to pay him anymore is have him just get killed by Doctor Doom in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And then just be done with it.
Just get him out the way. But the problem is, like,
Iron
can you
Heart,
even afford to kill...
up.
I think they'll keep playing Sam Jackson as long as Sam Jackson is willing, which Sam Jackson will be willing until he dies.
Yeah.
So I think the problem is he has to die. Because the problem is you can't, like, shock value kill a character anymore. You can kill, like, Shang-Chi. Go for it. Pretend it's a shock, the character you put on the bench, but, like...
Don Cheadle...
But, like, there's only so much you could do, you know? You lost all the fucking
Cheadle and Ironheart
superstars.
show up, but you can't put Shuri in, because Shuri's, like, a weird COVID truther on Twitter. So
no, they forgave her because they didn't have any other fucking choice. They should have just casted Black Panther and they're like, fuck this bitch, we're gonna figure something out. And then they're like, actually, let's just cover it up
and
and
cheat. Namor become a good guy and show up, I guess.
See, they put Shuri on the apology tour, so she kind of got off with everything, and like and Disney like suppressed the media. But then they tried to do the same thing with Jonathan Majors, where they had him go on like Good Morning America on the Disney-owned Good Morning America talk show. And they're like, Jonathan Majors, you just have to sit there and read what we wrote you. I'm very sorry I met a girl on a Disney production and started beating the shit out of her every day, but I still want to play Kang in the Avengers, and I'm a good guy and such. And then he's like, but I also want to clarify on my own part that I didn't do anything wrong, and maybe if she wasn't such a fucking bitch, I wouldn't have beat the shit out of her. And fuck Disney for firing me. And then Disney, because like they tried to do a tour, they like booked him on like all the doc shows and shit. Like, yeah. Disney is the one who has to approve Jonathan Majors going on Good Morning America to make his apology. Like, it was pretty transparent what they were doing.
Yeah,
but no one accepted the apology because they put him on live TV. They should have taped it. They should have said, now joining us in the studio is Jonathan Majors. And they just have a guy in the ping pong suit live, and over it they're transponding his
yeah, they have him
facial
in his Kang. I guess Ant-Man can show up in the Avengers.
Maybe you take the fan cast, you know, everyone's like, what if Idris Elba played Kang? Why don't you just have Idris Elba go up there and say it's me?
Those are two people who look identical.
Jonathan Majors.
Two people who look identical. At least we can rest easy knowing Ant-Man can be in the Avengers 4. Everyone's favorite Ant-Man.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
he beat Kang alone by himself. He could take on Doctor Doom.
Yeah, I bet you there will be a scene where everyone's beat up, and he'll say, "When the chips are down, the ants are on." And then he doesn't. He's like, "I'm not even gonna go small because I don't respect you enough." And then he just absolutely starts beating the fucking hell out of Doctor Doom, barehanded. You know.
Guardians of the Galaxy's
Paul
over.
Rudd comically beating the hell out of the villain.
I don't know what the deal with Thor is. Like, they implied that Thor was just going to become a cosmic character, and then I guess he's just up there doing nothing. So he's probably not going. Well, they'll probably just bring him back.
Yeah, Chris. What the fuck does Chris Hemsworth got going on? That's kind of the thing. That's the reason everyone's coming back. Because it's like, what the fuck does Robert Downey Jr. got going on?
He was Dr. Doolittle.
They typecasted themselves. Yeah, you had to go from Dr. Doolittle to Dr. Doom because Dr. Doolittle flopped, you know? So get back on the fucking Marvel horse.
It's okay. Mark Ruffalo shows up in weird indie dramas every once in a while,
Plus-
and then he just goes back to being the Hulk anyway, because I guess
It's the paycheck, man.
He's just
He hasn't had to do anything since, like, fucking Thor Ragnarok. Ever since then, he just sits there as, like... They're like, we'll put you in the green screen suit, and he's like, I really just, like, don't want to, like, smash stuff. Like, to me, it's, like, cliched to make Hulk the Hulk, so let's just make him, like...
me, but I'm just gonna record my lines in my house, and you guys can do whatever.
Yeah. They should have got Edward Norton, because then he would have just been angry naturally. It made sense why they casted him. And then Mark Ruffalo looks like he's a
I can't believe this
fucking
turned into
Xanax
another
instructor.
State of the MCU video.
It's been a while.
As happens, the State of the MCU and the State of the DCEU.
The DCE is done.
Yeah. The State of the Dark Universe for a while, but that hasn't been a thing in a long time. We used to do a lot of State of the Dark Universe updates. The DU.
I didn't even really, like, we knew about the Dark Universe for like 2 months beforehand when they started announcing that the movie was in a universe. But then it was funny that they kept doubling down. They're like, we're definitely not canceling the Dark Universe, guys. Fucking stop. And
Here's
everyone's
this
like, it's
cast
okay.
photo of all the people we want to put in the movies we haven't started making.
Universal
And we're gonna
doubled
announce-
down and was like, come on, we just need like the Snyder style.
We're gonna announce.
We
the
need
punch
somebody to like come to our back. Like, is there like some mummy head out there that really respects like Christopher McQuarrie or whatever's vision on the mummy? And no one stepped forward, which is why we never got the Dark Universe. We should become the Dark. I bet you we could probably be like convincing people to rewatch The Mummy. I don't know who, but I feel like if we tried really hard, we could do a fan
Start a
movement,
campaign.
release the fucking McQuarrie cut or whoever directed that movie.
Bring back the Dark Universe.
Tom Cruise is like, yeah, I wanted to shoot 40 additional scenes, and now The Mummy is a 7-hour-long epic. Gerard Butler comes back, and he's like, ugh! And he starts telling shit over again. He's like, oh, my back! He's hunched. Alright, anyways, it's like 10 o'clock, I gotta go home.